Good morning and welcome. Thanks everyone. My name is Brooke Berlin. I'm the North American representative for Tswalu Kalahari, which was one of the founding members of the National Geographic Unique Lodges of the world. And as many of you know, of course, I work across many other countries on the African continent as well. But since right now it's been a little bit challenging for us to get our clients to Africa, I thought it would be really interesting to speak with some of the partner properties that we have here in the US and in Canada and introduce you to them. So I'm really happy today that we've got Jenny Jewczyk with us. She is the Reservation and Sales Manager for Nimmo Bay. And what I actually love is that she's a part of the family. So Jenny is from the most easterly part of Canada, from Newfoundland, but she moved to the most westerly part of Canada about 15 years ago, and she joined her aunt and uncle at Nimmo Bay. And she worked there in many different positions for a number of different years. And then she left to actually pursue her BA in International Hotel Management from Royal Roads University. She's worked with 3 Shangri-La properties among Canada and Australia, and then went back and settled in with Nimmo Bay about 7 years ago as a part of their kind of city office team. So really, really well versed with the property, and I'm sure we'll share all of the kind of passion and the family stories and the history. And she herself also just loves being in nature, hiking and running, very much true to form for those of us that love being in the great outdoors. So I'm going to hand it over to Jenny. Thank you again so much for joining us, and I'll be back for Q&A later on.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn about Nimmo Bay this morning, and we'll just dive right in. So who is Nimmo Bay? What is Nimmo Bay? Nimmo Bay is a family-owned and operated property. As Brooke mentioned, my aunt and uncle started the lodge 40 years ago. We're in our 40th year of operation, 40 years ago, they had 2 sons. They later had another daughter, but they were logging at the time. They were spending a lot of time away from family, and they wanted to find something that was going to be sustainable and have something that they could pass on to their family and bring people together. So with very little money, very little resources, they bought an old floating home, dragged it to the middle of nowhere, and basically forced their family to be together. But found a place to connect with nature, found a place that had water so they could get power and water, drinking water, of course. And that was kind of the very beginning of Nimmo Bay. Here we are 40 years later, and their oldest son, Fraser, and his wife, Becky, have taken over the operation. They have 2 little girls, Fauna and River, and they all live on site at Nimmo Bay throughout our season, hosting and welcoming the guests. So Nimmo Bay is also one of the founding members of the National Geographic Unique Lodges of the world. I think we started at I think it was 28 properties, and obviously now it's gone, I think, over 70. So it's grown quite a bit over the years, but it was very, very exciting to be selected as one of the founding members. Where is Nimmo Bay? So Nimmo Bay is located in the southern part of the Great Bear Rainforest. If you look at the top picture there, this is the top of Vancouver Island, and so we're just off the northern tip of Vancouver Island. There's a number of ways to get to us. Most popular would be guests coming into Vancouver. Then from Vancouver, we have a charter flight. That's a wheeled aircraft that flies from Vancouver to Port Hardy, 1-hour flight, and then they get a chartered float plane from Port Hardy into Nimmo Bay, which is a 20-minute flight. Alternatively, guests can do direct charters into Nimmo Bay from Tofino, Vancouver, Victoria, Seattle, and just fly directly into Nimmo Bay. They could also drive up island from Victoria or Tofino, drive up to Port Hardy, fly them in on the charter float plane, or they can fly directly into Port Hardy on a private jet and then come into Nimmo Bay by a float plane from there. We're here to help facilitate all those different transfers. We do have set arrivals and departures, so we're here to help as much as we can. So this is just a footprint kind of Nimmo Bay. You can see that we're actually quite small in size. This picture is somewhat outdated because we did get a new lodge this year, which I'm about to show you in the next picture. So just kind of bear with me there. But as you can see on the top, we have these 6 cabins that are along the forest edge. And then tucked into the forest, we have another 3 cabins that you can't quite see in this picture. We have 4 helicopter pads, and then from the helicopter pads down is all floating on water. And you can see our lodge there, our floating fire dock out front, and then this is our brand new lodge. So we, this was a 2-year build. For us, it's custom built, and it was very exciting coming in for our 40th year. It took 4 days to tow it up island, and then 2 weeks later, COVID hit. So it wasn't the best timing. We haven't been able to properly celebrate it, but it feels good to be open. It feels good to be having people in this new space. We're extremely excited. We've repurposed the other lodge over the last 40 years. So this has been it's a big upgrade, and you can kind of see the inside. It really elevates our dining experiences for our guests and is also still a space to bring people together. So our accommodations. We have a total of 9 cabins, 6 that are intertidal that sit along the water's edge, as you saw in the photo, and then we have 3 forest cabins that sit in next to our on-site waterfall. So the top 2 photos are of our intertidal cabins. They have the ocean views, and they have this kind of white modern interior. And the forest cabins, they have partial water views and kind of have more of the wood themed. All of our cabins have 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a lounge area. And our price point is per person per day, not per cabin. However, if guests do have a preference on their cabin type, there is a cabin guarantee that they can pay, obviously based on availability. Resort amenities. So we have, starting the bottom right photo here, we have 2-seater hot tubs at the base of the waterfall. The waterfall is glacier water, comes right from the top of the mountain. So it is quite cold, but you can certainly go for a quick dip. And I've been told there's a bottle of tequila behind the waterfall if you're brave enough to get back there. I've never done it myself. I get to like my ankles and then I run back to the hot tub. But it is quite a great experience, very refreshing. And there's always something about that glacier water that just kind of is a very healing factor that we incorporate into our experiences. And as you can see, just really tucked in up above the hot tubs, there's a flight of stairs, and that brings you up to the 2nd tier of the waterfall, where you'll find this wellness treatment room, which is on the left bottom picture here. So we have 2 wellness rooms at Nimmo Bay. Again, both are really immersed in nature. So this one's on the 2nd tier of the waterfall and has a wood burning fireplace. It's a very intimate, special space. So we can do massages, meditation, private yoga classes. We also do some private dining experiences up there. So we really use these spaces, they're very multi-purpose. And the 2nd space is beyond the cabins, just immersed in the forest. Going to the top left picture, this is our floating fire dock. This is kind of where all the guests start and finish the day. So in the morning, they sit out there and have their morning coffee. We often see black bears at the back of the bay. And this year we've been actually very fortunate. We had a mama grizzly and 3 cubs that were back there this year. And so they hung out for about a week or 2. And the cubs were like less than a month old. So they were like super tiny and like absolutely adorable. And as I say, we typically get black bears, but we don't usually have grizzly bears in the back of our bay. So it was a really, really special few weeks for our team and for our guests that got to see them exploring the shoreline back there. And then, of course, at the end of the day, the fire is always burning, and there's just something so magical about the fire that brings people together, sharing stories and jokes and talking about their day. So it's a real hub of the lodge. And then last but not least, to the picture in the top right hand, that is our floating fire dock, our floating sauna, and that is located in the bay next to us. So you'll see another picture later in this slideshow of it kind of as a bird's eye view, and it is literally just floating in the middle of nowhere when you're surrounded by ocean, surrounded by mountains, surrounded by trees. And from this dock, you can see in the back of the bay next to us, which is where we often do see grizzly bears back there. So who comes to Nimmo Bay? Everything at Nimmo Bay is customized to suit every guest's interests, and we focus on what their intention of their trip is. So we're able to welcome, we say we've had babies as young as 2 months to people that are 92. So people of all walks of life, all ages, everything is just customized to suit exactly what they need. So people come to Nimmo Bay to relax, to focus on wellness, and lay back, read a book. And then we have guests that are super adventurous, want to go the entire time, and kind of everything in between. So everything is just customized to suit that. There's no kind of set itinerary or anything like that. We have families, we do couples, honeymoons, we do group retreats, we do multi-generational families, fly fishermen, kind of you name it, all walks of life, we have at Nimmo Bay. So going into the Nimmo Bay experience, we are very fortunate to be in a very beautiful part of the world. We feel very honored to have so much diverse wildlife around us, the mountains, the ocean, but there's many other properties in our area that also have access to the same things. So what we really strive to stand out is with our level of personalization and our level of service. So everything at Nimmo Bay is focused around the guests' trip intentions and exactly what their interests are. It's about building relationships with our guests through conversations and getting to know them. And then we call it our Nimmo Magic, and then sprinkling Nimmo Magic throughout their whole trip. So we run seasonally from May until October, and we do 3, 4, or 7-day trips with Monday and Thursday as the travel days. There's not a whole lot of flexibility with that as we are seasonal, we are small, and our changeovers are very, very quick. So, but of course, we'll always work with guests to try to make something work. We have our Nimmo Inclusive Experience, this is our standard package. We do have 2 seasonal rates. We have an early season rate from May until mid-June, and then the rest of the season is just our standard rate. And this, and our standard package includes accommodations, all meals, house alcohol, access to the resort amenities, and then our resort-based activities. So the resort-based activities are pretty diverse, and again, everything's guided and everything is customized for the guests' interests. So some of those activities would be hiking through the old growth forests, kayaking, paddle boarding, and then this is the floating sauna dock here in the bottom right-hand picture. So access to our floating sauna dock, and then of course, the going to the hot tubs and the waterfall there. So kind of a day in the life of a Nimmo Bay guest, if they were to just run with this package, could be, waking up in the morning, having a leisurely breakfast, going out for an early morning, for a hike in the morning, learning about the different plants that are along in the forest and maybe doing some foraging, and then coming to the edge of Big Nimmo, the bay next to us, and then paddling over to the floating sauna dock, have a sauna at the sauna dock, have lunch out there, and then kayak back in the afternoon, settle down for your dinner. So it's very diverse. Again, we can accommodate all levels of hiking and all levels of adventure. From that package, you can then add trip enhancements. So you don't have to, but you absolutely can. And we'll run through some of those options now. So this is the most popular one, would be our coastal safari. So this brings you from Nimmo Bay out beyond kind of our front yard by boat. And so everything is exclusive for the guests. And again, the day is planned around their needs. So it's not like we have any set circuit or, there's no set itinerary with wildlife, as I'm sure most of you know. So when we go out, some of the things that you may see would be orca whales, humpback whales, dolphins, sea lions, black bears, grizzly bears. Rare time we see wolves, but they're pretty rare, but we do see them from time to time. And then whatever else kind of Mother Nature has going for that day. We're pretty fortunate from July through till the 3rd week of September. The marine wildlife primarily is just in abundance. We see them every single day that we're out. You can never guarantee wildlife, of course, but we're pretty fortunate for the experiences that our guests get to see. And it's a very intimate experience with the wildlife and with nature. Some other activities with the coastal safari would be saltwater fishing. We can put kayaks and paddle boards on the boats and go out and explore other areas of the mountains and the Great Bear Rainforest that way. And then there's also remote communities that are in our neighborhoods that we'll often go visit. There's some really interesting artists and people that live off the land that live out there that share stories and share their talents. And there's a few museums as well that we can visit and research centers. So again, the day is always catered to the guests' needs, their energy levels, and of course their interests. But this is certainly the most popular enhancement that is added. Probably the most sought after enhancement would be the helicopter adventures and heli fishing. So our helicopter adventures and heli fishing is really what my aunt and uncle started off with Nimmo Bay. So when they started operating 40 years ago, I think it was about 3 years into operation, they started doing this heli fishing experience, and they're really the pioneers of heli fishing on the West Coast. So what is heli fishing? Some of you may ask. Heli fishing is taking the helicopter and going into these really remote rivers where they're only accessible by helicopter. And so we're the only ones out there, and specifically geared towards fly fishing, and we're fishing for salmon out there. So it's some of the best salmon fishing you can get in the world. And we're very fortunate that we've been able to bring people into these really remote spaces and have these truly magnificent experiences. So we have our heli fishing, and then you can also do your heli ventures, which would bring you with 50,000 square miles of untouched wilderness to explore by helicopter. So going to the west coast of Vancouver Island and going to some of these really remote, sandy, beautiful beaches, going up to glacier tops for lunch, going to glacier lakes to do some paddle boarding, heli hiking. We can go into remote hot springs. The sky's the limit, as they say, with the helicopter. And again, these days are all catered to exactly what the guests want to experience. They leave at 10 a.m. in the morning. They don't get back till about 5 p.m. at night. The helicopter stays with them all through the day, just really curating whatever it is that they want to do. So if they want to fish 5 different rivers in one day, then they can do that. If they, just want to go and hang out on a remote island and just take it really chill and relax, then they can do that too. It's all about listening to what the guests want to experience, but of course, sprinkling in some of that Nimmo magic along the way. The helicopter is definitely, I think, maybe the most emotional experience for our guests. We often have guests coming back just like tears streaming down their face because it truly is such a magnificent experience for them. Savor the Coast. So this is a culinary enhancement. This is new for us this year, but we're really excited. It's been something that we've been gearing towards over the last few years, really focusing on our culinary experiences and bringing our guests kind of closer to that land and to the food that we are able to source. So the culinary, or Savor the Coast, brings our guests into remote parts of the Great Bear Rainforest. And our culinary team joins them, and they learn about food on the beach, food in the forest, and food that they can get from the sea. They forage it together, and then our culinary team, has a fire going and dishes up a fantastic meal. And sometimes this is on a super remote island in the Broughtons or just along the coast. And then of course our beverage team goes along as well and does infused cocktails with some of the plants and things that they have foraged. So this is really the perfect experience for any foodies that you may have coming up to Nimmo Bay. And then we have our wellness experiences. So this is another thing that we've been really focusing on over the last, probably 5 or 6 years, and developing a really diverse experience for what wellness could look like, and again, making it a very personalized experience. So we can offer something as simple or traditional as just the massages in our wellness spaces, or we can do things on a much deeper level. We do forest bathing, meditation, journaling. The list is pretty extensive, and again, bringing people into nature is the main focus for our wellness treatments. We always find that nature is really a powerful healing mechanism, and any time that we can bring guests closer to nature, we find is hugely beneficial. So as you can see in this top right here, is a little platform that we have built on the
Jenny, I think you kind of froze up there for a little bit.
the other thing I'll mention about the wellness experiences is this is only Whoop, did I lose you there?
So we're still here and I can hear you now, but your screen sharing just stopped. So we've lost the presentation. If you want to try and get it back, that's great. And if not, then I can speak out my version. Yep.
All right, can you see it now?
Yep, we can see it now.
Are you good?
Mm-hmm. Yep, romance
okay.
wild.
Sorry about that. I think my internet just dropped there for a second. Okay, romance in the wild. This is our last enhancement. And then we'll go into, and then I'll do a quick summary and we'll go into some Q&As. So romance in the wild is really geared to...
Jenny, sorry, I am gonna stop you for 1 second. Would you actually mind going back a slide since we didn't hear anything that you said really with the wellness slide? That would be wonderful. I think
okay, you didn't hear any of it?
No, well.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
No. We heard some of it, but it started to really kind of cut in and out again.
Okay, we'll go back to wellness.
Jenny.
So wellness is something that we've been focusing on, particularly for 6 years, and making it a very diverse and a very personal experience. So we can do something as easy and traditional as just massages in the evening or in the morning, or we can do a full 3 or 4 day trip that just focuses on wellness. So that would be, you know, forest bathing, meditation, private yoga classes, journal writing, and then, you know, the list kind of goes on from there. We always bring guests as close to nature as we possibly can. So going into these spaces that we have, you know, built little platforms that is right immersed in the Great Bear Rainforest to do these different treatments is really kind of the goal, and using nature as a healing force for these wellness treatments. Using the sauna dock often, we can start doing, start the day with some morning yoga classes on the sauna dock, paddle out there in the morning, and the mist is always pretty thick in the morning. You can often see, again, the bears in the back of the bay. So it's a pretty amazing way to start the day. Then we have romance in the wild, finally, last but not least. And the romance in the wild really focuses on our guests that are coming to, that really want to focus on their relationship, focus on each other, and it gives them the opportunity to have just a little bit more intimacy throughout their trip. So this enhancement includes a romance amenity, which is often, it changes throughout our season, but is often a bottle of champagne, as well as some edible, like chocolate covered strawberries or something along those lines, and then some body products, so, you know, bath salts and things like that. And then throughout their stay with us, it includes a private dining experience. So again, it's personalized. So sometimes that might be something as simple as like a breakfast in bed, if that's kind of what the guests are interested in, or it can be going off on a boat for a happy hour and having a cocktail out on the boat, watching the sunset, or going into, again, these remote spaces that we have for dessert and things like that. So it's really, again, just curated to what the couple is interested in. And then finally, it also includes an intimate guided experience. So again, based on their interests, whatever that might be. So to summarize, Nimmo Bay is a family-owned and operated property. We're an intimate fly-in property, and we focus on personalized wild experiences in the Great Bear Rainforest. All of our trips focus on wilderness adventures, wildlife viewing, wellness journeys, culinary experiences, and finding ways to do that sustainably while supporting our local communities. So thank you very much, and we can move into some Q&As.
Great, thank you very, very much. I've always been really interested in this property, and now I'm even more interested in the property. The next time I can get up to Vancouver, I have a feeling I'm going to be driving up your way. We've lost you there for a second, Jenny.
I cannot.
There we go. Jenny's, I mean, shame, she's on a new computer in the middle of a move. It was a holiday this week. She's got everything going on. I really loved that presentation, those bathtubs on the beach. incredible. That just looks so fantastic. And I like that the guy had a bottle of bubbly. That's going to be my concept of a wellness trip up there. So we do have a number of questions for you. I'm going to just kind of start and we'll go through them. Can you just, yeah, there we go. I want to make sure we have you with us there. How many people can fit on one of the helis for the adventures? Jenny. There we go.
Okay.
Okay. How many people can fit on the helicopters for the heli adventures?
I don't know why this is not working.
If you want, you can also in the chat, if you want to write the answer, I can read it out while we figure out the connectivity.
Okay, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, let's roll with it.
How many people can fit on a heli for the heli adventures?
So we have two sizes of helicopters. We have one that seats 2 guests, and then we have one that seats 3 to 5 guests. So of course, if it's a group that's larger than 5, then they'll have multiple helicopters for their adventure.
And can you give a general cost for that?
Yep, so the 2-person helicopter is the additional 6,000, just over 6,000, and the larger helicopter is 10,000 for the day.
And I know you said how many you have, but we're going to repeat and then add in an additional question. How many guides and heli guides are situated at the lodge?
So the pilots are typically the guides with the helicopters, and it depends. The helicopters don't stay on site unless they're booked. So, we can accommodate up to 4, we have 4 helipads, we can accommodate up to 4 helicopters at any given time. Our guide team is quite large. Our seasonal staff is about 60 people in total, and we take about 18 to 24 guests. So focusing on the guest experience is always is our priority, and so having a huge team is kind of part of that. So our guide team is made up of at least 12 people, if not more, depending on how many guests we have on site.
Do you have accommodation for guides? For instance, quite often in Africa, you might have a tour leader or a guide bringing guests, and then there's a different area where they can stay. Do you offer something like that as well?
We do. Our accommodations are pretty limited for staff, and Nimmo Bay, given that everything is guided, having a guide there isn't as necessary as some of the other places that I know guides join, but it is absolutely possible.
The pricing that you just gave, especially since we have a Canadian and US market with us today, are the costs that you're giving in Canadian dollar or US dollar?
All of our pricing's in Canadian dollar.
Can you drive from Tofino to Nimmo Bay?
You can drive from Tofino to Port Hardy. So it is a bit of a drive. I think it's about 6 hours. So it is a bit of a journey, but it's absolutely possible.
Can a wellness program be mixed with, say, outdoor activities like a kayak experience?
Absolutely. Most of our programs are quite mixed. So again, it's just curated to exactly what the guests want to experience. So if they want something that's mixed, then that's what we'll do.
And are all of the add-on activities available throughout the entire time that you're open, or are any of the activities seasonal even within your season?
Everything is available throughout our season, but various activities do have seasonalities, particularly the wildlife and the fishing. So you can always check with us if there's something. We always try to find out what the goal of the trip is prior to booking it, so that we know that, if they're wanting to fish, that they're coming in our prime fishing season and not coming when it's going to be slow. So that's always something that we also look into prior to confirming a trip.
When guests catch fish, can they bring it back to the lodge and have it cooked and prepared for them at the lodge?
Particularly for our freshwater heli fishing, it is all in protected waters, and it is all catch and release, and always has been, just to keep it as sustainable as we can.
Great. How far are you from God's Pocket Dive Resort?
I have no idea. I'm sorry, I don't know where that is.
We will, I'll take a note, and that's why it's great to have the questions in the Q&A. I'll make sure that Jenny gets all of those and she'll be able to come up with on that. At least I could pronounce that. I was doing some webinars on West Africa and people were asking me questions on things I couldn't even pronounce. Are the hot tubs heated by wood fire or electrical? And is the water drawn from the waterfalls or piped in?
So about 85% of our energy comes from our waterfall. So it's something that it's a bit of a fine, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a bit of a jigsaw puzzle to make it all work, but we do run about 85% is off hydropower. And so they're powered through that. We do have some, you saw the picture with the bathtubs on the beach. Those ones would be heated with the fire, of course, because they're remote in the middle of nowhere. But the water, all of our water does come from the waterfall. It's glacier water. It's the most delicious water I think you'll ever have. So yeah.
God's Pocket is near Port Hardy. That's why I like having locals on as well.
So we're a 20-minute float plane ride from Port Hardy. So I would say 20 minutes.
Let's continue with access for a second. How long would the drive be from Victoria? And is there a place to then leave the car to catch the float plane?
Yep, so the drive from Victoria is about 6 hours, as well as, because Tofino's off the coast, so it's roughly about the same. And all of our float planes leave, or you check in at the Port Hardy Airport, so they do have long-term parking available at the airport.
Okay, I'm going to try and group questions related to cost and then into the numbers. So first, can you touch upon the nightly per person rate and the early season and then the main season? And then speak about what's included in that again, because then we have questions about the add-ons.
Okay, so our early season, which runs from May until mid-June, is $14.95 per person per day. And then from mid-June to the end of our season, the price point is $19.95 per person per day. And those prices, excuse me, include your accommodation, meals, house alcohol, resort amenities, and then the resort-based activities. So again, that's the kayaking, hiking, access to the floating sauna dock, all of the things that are local to the resort. And then kids that are 12 and under do receive a 25% discount off of that rate.
So then if you mix the add-on, I'm assuming then each add-on has its own cost, and you would do that per person as well. Say you've got a larger group, but only 3 want to do a helicopter experience.
Exactly. So the helicopter experience is per helicopter. So it's either you have your group of 2 or less, or you have the bigger helicopter that seats 3 to 5. And so that's an additional price point. So that's the smaller helicopter, again, is $6,000 or just over. And then the larger helicopter is just over $10,000. And then the coastal safari, which again is the most popular one, is $500 per person per day. And the Savor the Coast is $895 per person per day. And then the wellness treatments are just added on per treatment. And then the Romance in the Wild is it's a package that you buy throughout the whole stay. So you either do your 3-day stay or your 4-day stay, and that's added on at a $200 per day rate.
And things like the add-ons that are activity-based, such as the helicopter or an excursion, when you are paying for them, you're paying for them on an exclusive basis. So you wouldn't put 2 separate bookings or 2 separate groups into that booking.
Exactly.
Okay. Talking about groups and sizes, you've said that it could be up to 18 to 24 guests. Will you consider smaller groups or limiting accommodation going forward?
Well, certainly, I mean, we can do a buyout for as many people as they want to bring. We've done buyouts for people for groups as small as 6 to 8, and then groups as big as, like I said, 24, 26. We're starting to get pretty cozy, but we can accommodate, especially with younger children. It's just about the comfort of the guests and the accommodations. As long as they're comfortable to share some beds and share some rooms, then we can absolutely make it happen.
Okay, so you yourself won't limit the numbers of people. If you end up getting a full booking, you'll have a full booking, but people can then do a buyout and bring fewer people.
Exactly.
Okay. And then the other side of that is for someone who has a group, multi-gen with more people. The question is, can we squeeze them kind of into the 9 rooms? Are you very strict on having 18 people max, or do you have a resort nearby if people had more guests that they wanted to combine 2 with 1 group?
So we're happy to accommodate more than 18 as long as the group is comfortable with that. Especially with multi-gen groups, when we have younger children, things like that, it makes it pretty easy to be able to go up in numbers pretty quickly. There are no other resorts that are close by. We're really in the middle of nowhere with very limited access to get to us. So we are kind of the only spot that we can do the accommodations, but we can be pretty flexible especially for multi-generational families that are typically pretty comfortable to have more than 2 people per cabin.
I love it. So right now, those are all of the questions that we have. I can give it another minute in case anyone is thinking of anything additional. Of course, the webinar is recorded, and then also I have Jenny's information and some links to videos and PDFs that we'll include in the follow-up email for people. And yeah, how are things going? Oh, we do have some more questions. How are things going for you now? What's your availability like, for Canadians looking to get away, and then for Americans as soon as we're allowed?
Yeah. So right now, we're actually very surprised and very humbled because we are actually quite busy, a lot, not full, not what we would have been, but we're definitely a lot busier than we anticipated being. The response from our Canadian market has been overwhelmingly lovely and pleasant and supportive. So it's been very encouraging. We still do have availability through August, although it's filling up, and into September. We will be closing early this year towards the end of September, but there's still availability for our fellow Americans. As soon as the borders open, we'll love to have you come up to visit us. 2021 is quite full because we've had pretty much everybody that was booked for this year deferred to next year. So the availability is quite limited, particularly in August and September. So if you do have anyone in mind, please do get in touch with us as soon as possible. But we are taking reservations all the way into 2023. So if you have some planners in your group, then we'd love to get them in the calendar as soon as possible.
And just hypothetically, since things are changing every day, if the border opens up, or someone in Canada has a larger family group, so say all of a sudden travel becomes easier and you have a big buyout booking, would you stay open a little bit later than your early close date, or is that kind of a set in stone this year?
Yeah, we'll definitely be flexible, and particularly if we had a larger group, a buyout, of course, we would stay open and make that happen for sure.
What is the best season for fishing? You said that you would give recommendations for people that want to come specifically for that.
Yeah, so our heli fishing in the freshwater, the prime season is August to the end of October. So really the prime is kind of going into later August, September, and October. It's really the prime season for the fishing.
So now.
Now, starting now. Yeah, we've been out in the rivers fishing the last couple of weeks, so there are some fish there, but it gets the numbers just grow as you kind of get later into August.
Amazing. All of the details that you've given us, including rates, are they all published on the website, or are those things that people should get in touch with you for?
No, all of our rates are published on our website, but we encourage people to get in touch with us anytime to answer any questions, and certainly field any other rates questions for sure.
Excellent. So I can give it another minute again. We've kind of gone to the end of the questions. I know sometimes things just come into mind at the end. How often do you get to the property since you're in the city?
Oh, I try to go as much as I can, which is very often. There's no cell service at Nimmo Bay, so we do have Wi-Fi. It's wilderness Wi-Fi, so it's a little bit limited. So I can't do my job there, unfortunately. But we try to get up, a few times this season for sure.
Love it. All right, well, since we don't have any other questions then for now, I will thank everyone again so much for joining us and for giving us your time. I really enjoyed this. I loved learning more about the property. Like I said, I've been interested and now I'm just absolutely obsessed. So we'll make sure that everyone gets information. And Jenny, thank you so much for giving us your time today, especially in the midst of everything that I know you've got going on as well. Oh, wait, so yes, the question that just came in because of what you said with cell service is, but you do have Wi-Fi. You said, yes, you do have it. It's just wilderness Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so the Wi-Fi, it's, you can do your day-to-day emails, text over Wi-Fi. We just can't do any video. So no FaceTime, no Netflix or YouTube, stuff like that. But any of your kind of day-to-day, we can absolutely accommodate.
So not a place that I should plan to work from or that other people should plan to like homeschool their kids from.
Exactly.
Just get away. Excellent. And of course, please, if there are more questions, like I said, I'm going to make sure that everybody gets Jenny's contact information so that you can get in touch with her directly for taking the conversation from here. So thanks so much. Thanks, Jenny. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening. Sorry for the connectivity issues there.
Sorry, now we understand why. All right. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thanks.